Hari ini kita berkumpul untuk menyaksikan dan mendengarkan pemaparan mengenai dampak nyata teknologi dalam mengakselerasi upaya perbaikan dan peningkatan kualitas pendidikan di Indonesia. Bapak Ibu sekalian, acara hari ini akan diawali dengan paparan laporan dampak. To start our event, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite partner and Asia Pacific Education Practice Lead Oliver Wyman, Ms. Claudia Wang, to deliver her presentation.
Great. Thank you. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. So first of all, I'd like to extend my warmest congratulations to Ms. Nadim, to the whole team of Ministry of Education and every member from all the other ministries supporting the education course in Indonesia for the 2022 PISA result announced last night. So Indonesia ranking actually increased 5 to 6 positions compared to 2018. So this is really remarkable given COVID and all the challenges that we've faced in the whole world in education course in the past 4 or 5 years. So we are, first of all, we are very, very grateful to be here and to see every one of you here. And also thank you, MOE Ministry of Education, for inviting Oliver Wyman to conduct independent review of the intermediate impact that has been achieved thus far under the umbrella of the Merdeka Belajar program. So to start with, okay, yes. So who is Oliver Wyman? So we are a global leading management consulting firm with a very strong expertise and focus in education and public policy industry. So our education work actually cut across sub-segments and different geographies. We have worked with over 300 K-12 education operators and edtech providers in the world, helping 20 plus Ministry of Education to form and draft their education relevant policies worldwide. And in my past almost 15 years of career, I've seen both successes and train wrecks in the education industry. And I feel the key takeaway is actually people would working with a starting assumption that what works in other industry would work in education. Sorry, the answer is no. And also, education is a very long-term endeavor that takes generations. So as we all know, COVID-19 has caused significant learning losses and the gaps on the whole world, and then spurred adoption of education technology as well. It is one of the most heated topics in the world right now, and also UNESCO actually chose this theme as their 2023 Global Education Monitoring Report. So we as an observer are very interested to understand whether and how technology actually to help address the overarching, most pressing challenges in the education world, which is, have it helped to improve quality, efficiency, equity, and inclusiveness. Indonesia is actually a great example that we can look into, right? So this is a vast country, hosts like 4th world's largest population. So we'd like to deep dive into how Indonesia actually leveraged technology to achieve that. So this is the outline of today's agenda. We are trying to understand the status quo, right? The challenges in front of the government, and then the root causes behind them, and then the action Ministry of Education actually has taken to use like Merdeka Belajar as an example, the intermediate impact that has been achieved thus far on key actors in the education ecosystem, and where does Indonesia stand now, and what are the probably likely suggestions that could happen and double down on in the future. So where we are now. Some of the very quick basic facts about Indonesia. Right now in 2023, in K-12 education stage, Indonesia has almost like 53 million of students, 3.4 million teachers across so many islands, right? And over 400,000 schools. And if we move next, yes. So, but our basic education system have a lot of room to increase. If we take a look from a global comparison perspective, using the PISA result as an example, Indonesia performance fluctuated along the course. So this is the data for the past 20 years. And the gap, if you look at the blue line, right? So if you look at the blue line, the gap was actually quite huge compared to the other developing Southeast Asian countries. And if we are trying to compare the result with Eastern Asian countries, like China, like Japan, the gap will be more pronounced. So, and then if we move to the next slide, this is the national assessment result of 2021. So we actually have seen, if you look at the different darkness of the blue color, right, you can still see huge contrast. So we can see the regional disparity. It's actually within like regions, within regencies, even within a school, there are mixed performance. And it's just like, it's huge. So if we go back, so basic education needs to improve, and Indonesia government launched Merdeka Belajar initiatives to tackle these challenges. And given the urgency of the task, and then the complexity and breadth of the K-12 education system, this all calls for a very innovative approach to help in a relatively within relatively constraints in budget and timelines. So what are the root causes behind? It's not on paper, but we are trying to look into and trying to talk to the key stakeholders to understand what happened in the past 50 years of Indonesia's education course. So according to some of the previous Ministry of Education study, so in the past, the national curriculum is content mastery based. It is not focusing on building, emphasizing the critical thinking and problem solving skills and embed that kind of competency accomplishment mindset into the system. And then we have a lot of regencies and governments, right? So the local government actually needs better guidance, and school principals and teachers need more autonomy in adjusting the teaching plans to their students' needs to meet the competency target for different education stage. But in order to do that, the teachers will need to better improve their teaching skill sets, and schools need more support in decision making and prioritization, what they should focus on, their budget, their timeline, everything on. However, we know that the lack of professional development programs access has been an issue. There's a very, very shocking number. So in 2019, right before COVID, in Indonesia, in K-12 stage, there's only 15 to 20% of the teachers who are able to access the trainings held by Ministry of Education. Let's remember that number and let's move on. So to tackle these challenges, Indonesia government initiated a bout of education reforms, of which the centerpieces are the reform of national curriculum and the introduction of national assessment system. So MOE actually has chosen, Ministry of Education has chosen to use technology as a catalyst to mobilize education actors and to accelerate changes. Instead of launching, a lot of the countries, when they have loads of budgets, tend to adopt a top-down approach, which is throwing money in every corner of education, building an education system. And then in Indonesia, the integrated technology ecosystem is to start from the digitizing of the national assessment test. So it's designed to facilitate the journey from the assessment, then move to reflection based on the results. So that's Rabu, and then to planning and prioritization. So built on the digitized national assessment platform, Rabu helps to identify the potential areas to improve and provides recommendations to schools based on students and schools' results. And teachers and principals could then leverage platform Merdeka Belajar to improve their teaching planning, their professional networking and development. So school management and administrators then can leverage ACAS and CIPLA to allocate and manage their budgets better with streamlined procurement process and improved financial processes and discipline. So that's a whole picture of the technology ecosystem. And then what we have been doing is spending 2 months of time using a data-driven approach to identify whether there are positive changes thus far, right? And given the time frame is really short, because a lot of the technology products only came into being and the massive launch within 2 years, so time is relatively short. What we can do is to measure whether there's intermediate positive changes happening thus far. So we got access to a lot of the internal data on the both student and teacher usage data. We look into them to do the analysis, and we launched a massive survey to collect feedbacks from teachers and principals. It's almost hit 120,000. And we conducted more than 30 subject expert interviews to get insights to understand what has happened, what are the issues, areas to improve, what they feel happy about, and then with our global expertise that we've mentioned above to generate the report. So, quick answer, we have seen positive mindset shift. Okay, so let's take a step first on education system, especially the K-12 education system. So students, every one of us used to be a student. Students is always in the heart and center of any education ecosystem. And there are different actors and influencers around them, right? From government bodies like Ministry of Education, regional government, TL like teachers, right? And then schools, school principals, administrators, even our community, parents, our communities, they're all very important members of the ecosystem. So the launch of Curriculum Merdeka and the technology ecosystem aims to empower teachers and schools first, and ultimately trying to exert positive impact on students in the long run for our future generations. So in less than 2 years after official launch, positive feedbacks, we'll show a lot of numbers afterwards, but it's all the key education actors, teachers, principals, they are reporting mindset shift, which is important starting point, which paves the way that in the future students can sense it. Students already sensed it, and then it will improve your education quality in the long run. We believe when technology gives you the tool to have the access, old behavioral change would become more productive. Let's start with the impact on government. So what strikes us as an inspiring initiative are the carefully chosen route of technology and the development of technology. So in terms of roots technology, it's very, very teacher and school principal centric. It's also very, very user friendly. And then there are multiple distribution strategies was adopted in order to maximize the impact and outreach. So remember all the keywords in education: quality, efficiency, inclusiveness, equity, right? So technology helps in that way. When we look at the technology solutions, compared to other countries, which is a very top-down, very crunchy, kind of big learning management system like that, given the status quo where Indonesia stands today, given your IT infrastructure, this app has been cell phone based, right? In order to reach more teachers, there are specifications that support apps to be easy to install so that it's very, very small. Everyone can install it and even function well, given limited connectivity situation, right? And then supplemented by a lot of laptop distribution as well. Then the second thing on the development of technology, we have worked with loads of education startups, like the global unicorns, and then the edtech relevant players. This way of working, of user-centric, adopting user-centric principle and iterative development cycle is only seen usually in private operators. It's not in the government. This is very rare. And I do want to emphasize that I think the team, when we work together with them, we sense that there is a very strong sense of earning on focusing on the authentic pain points of users, which is today's audience is mainly teachers and principals, and make it extremely user-friendly and efficacy-driven. I think this kind of mindset is super important. When they face a very, very challenging problem in front of them, having this kind of like ambition and vision mission on striving to make changes is very rarely seen. So, as a result, so on the left-hand side, you can see like how the PMN product itself actually evolves with different functions, starting with like providing education resources for the new curriculum and things, to self-training, community communication, and crowdsourcing teaching content, to practice. More and more things are under development. And then within 2 years, January 2020 till October 2023, it's amazing. The cumulative logins of the system has reached 3.5 million, but we only have like around 3.4 million teachers in the system. This is amazing. And then impact on teachers and principals are also significant. The app actually has reached 80% plus grade 1 to 12 teachers in Indonesia. And yes, and then curriculum Merdeka reference also beat 90%. Sorry, yes. And then PMM actually empowers all the teachers to be able to actually access the good content anywhere and anytime. So like the many testimonies that we have heard when we talk to and survey teachers, that PMM helped them, right? So the impressive number is, I've mentioned in 2019, there are only less than 15 to 20% of faculty who have access to the national kind of like training program. This number increased 7 times in 2023, which is amazing. Without technology, you would never be able to do so, right? It saves like costs as well, and then commute time, everything, so that teacher can save more time going back to research and R&D and improve their teaching. Besides the upskilling opportunities, PMM also started a broader networking effect for teachers to learn and inspire from each other, which increased their self-esteem and sense of pride. So look at what one of the principal has mentioned is, it's reassuring, right, for them to understand you always have a reliable source that you can revisit, which is a click away, and can go back to. So we observe a clear trend of teachers mingle with counterparts from different regions. I think in the past, I think it never happened before. If a teacher actually lives in Java, whether he or she will form a very constructive and close collaboration and communication with teachers from other regions, especially less developed regions. So positive movement has been observed, and also the 3T area. So these are the really less developed regions in Indonesia. And I would even use China as an example, is I don't think even today for China, in the similar definition of 3T areas, will be effectively motivating and giving access to teachers to reach 43% or even 50% of like adoption of something similar to PMN. So that is really positive. And then the impact on schools management, we then have like Rabu and then have ACAS and CIPLA. So in the past, when schools does budget planning, their resources is limited and might be incomplete and subjective. They're used to rely on the old way of doing things, right? After Rabu was introduced, Rabu is built on the intelligence collected primarily from national assessment and supplemented by the root causes diagnosis and improvement suggestions putting forward on a school-per-school basis. So helping school to make more well-informed and data-driven reflection, intermediate impact has been observed, which is positive. And we zoom into ACAS and the financial and CIPLA. Zooming into the financial management workflow, ACAS and CIPLA are creating efficiency improvement for sure. Especially Indonesia, actually 10% of the teachers hold a double role as treasurers. By streamlining both process and improve compliance and disciplines, technologies help to reduce their workload and alleviate psychological burdens on the teachers. Say like here, a teacher told us when they want to book like a book, they have to, before we introduce this system, it takes like 1 to 2 months to do it. And now it only takes less than a week, right? This is very important. Book is so important for teachers and students to use, right? This kind of efficiency improvement is very exciting. So with all the good signs, okay, so in terms of timing, based on our survey results, 40% of teachers reported more than 5 hours of saving on a per monthly basis. This number is really high. People might think, oh, on a monthly basis, 5 hours, what can teacher do? Yes, they would have more time to social with other teachers. They can, actually we are very excited to say like a lot of them are using it to improve their quality of teaching, learning from each other. We can tell you from our past research versus other countries, 5 hours is a lot of time. Yeah, this is great. So with all the good signs and intermediate results observed, the next question would really be, where does Indonesia stand compared to other countries, and how may Indonesia take the impact of technology-driven education reform to the next level? So to answer this question, we need to carefully evaluate how our education technology is viewed today globally. Most importantly, it is commonly agreed that technology are means and not ends of education, that it should best assist and to enable teachers and students instead of replacing them. I think this is a consensus. So globally, technology has been incorporated as a catalyst to drive education improvement, which is becoming more and more evident during and post-COVID. So it is really great to see that Indonesia actually realized this, and all the actions have been taken before COVID hits. Yeah. And after examining global practices of technology-driven education reform, we don't think there's a golden standard, there's a golden paradigm that every country can follow, because every country is at a different stage of development. And nowadays, the technology evolves really fast, right? So however, there are some proven golden lessons that has been learned, which is teacher-centric rule when equipping schools with smart devices, and then ensure accessibility to avoid widening digital gap, and accumulate digital assets to enable individualized education. These are like every country are moving into that direction. So if we look at all the recent education reform and policies and this technology initiative, it actually follows the same principle. So Indonesia is definitely on the right track to like pace up, right? And so next thing that we have mentioned is we have seen behavioral and mindset changes, which is very, very positive, and this is going to pave the way for the future as well, and form an atmosphere. We have seen like teachers, students, they are forming an atmosphere of self-learning, self-improving, self-motivation. So in addition, the efficiency impact is also observed, and the way of working as an important institutional change, which is different from previous years, will pivot more successful tools to come in an integrated ecosystem. Education is slow, as I've mentioned at the beginning, and from all the global benchmarks, we understand that it's a collective and collaborative endeavor with conviction between Ministry of Education, between different ministries, between the regional governments, and educators and families and the communities. All putting all of this together, we will only be able to empower our future generations in Indonesia to do even better than our generation. So building on all the good works, we have also observed some opportunities for Indonesia to better navigate in the near future. First of all, we really want to see a full-through and transparent teacher career advancement system. Sustainable actions are required to continuously improve the quality of the whole teaching forces. Besides offering more, right now what we have been doing is the on-job training, right? The teachers are already in the workforces. I think by designing and implementing a clearly defined and attractive, clear career advancement path will be crucial to attract new talents and keep and motivating today's talents and help them to become top and star teachers and great principals in the future. The The second thing is to expand the scope of professional training to broader spectrum of themes like tech-enabled coaching, subject-based training, etc. Broadened training themes and topics. So currently, self-paced learning provides training courses of general teaching and pedagogical topics like classroom management, student support, engagement. But globally, teacher coaching, even done by remote mode, right, say distantly online, is proven to be a very effective teacher skill enhancement lever that technology can actually support. The third thing is to support teacher and student with more extensive quality education resources. This is where a lot of the country, when they have sufficient budget, they will use a top-down approach to do it. Right now, given all the constraints in Indonesia, I mean, the same budget as before, right? So the teaching resources are crowdsourced from schools and teachers using a more kind of like bottom-up approach. Moving forward, given the education reform is moving towards a more problem-based learning and then individualized learning era, right? Extensive and quality open education resources for not only teachers, but also students and parents would be critically important. Besides all the pre-designed measures taken to improve accessibilities, we suggest Ministry of Education to take further steps to monitor and uncover the technology tools adoption status and its effect in rural areas and low-performing school districts to further ensure equal access and inclusiveness. So any education system reform, to be relevant to the times, must deeply adapt to what shape our world in the future, our society in the future. Using technology as the accelerator for policy implementation is a great example that we have seen in Indonesia. And we should do it not only for the past few years, but also for future generations. Thank you all for listening. And feel free to download our full reports online. You can scan the QR codes here. Both the English and Bahasa version will be there for you to digest. And our team is happy to answer any Q&A in the following hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Claudia Wang. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much for your presentation.